Hey, what up? This is Zach Guilford from Midnight Mass, and you're listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Pop Culture Pastor.
Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody. I feel that something terrible has happened.
Okay.
It's as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. It's a great disturbance in the force. And what I'm talking about is sad news.
Okay.
Red Lobster will be, looks like they're looking into Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Next week, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, not much time. I don't even have enough time to schedule a trip because we don't have a Red Lobster in our town.
Nope.
We gotta go 2 hours to go find a Red Lobster so I can have Cheddar Bay biscuits one last time.
You could get it within an hour and a half.
Oh yeah?
Jomo?
Oh, Joplin? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Unless they closed that one already, because they did close dozens of restaurants, including Salina's. Rest in peace.
We ate at Comic-Con in Salina.
We did.
We ate at the Red Lobster. I have special memories there. I had Cheddar Bay biscuits. Cody probably had chicken tenders or whatever it was on the menu he felt like he could get.
Yep.
Because Cody is notoriously picky.
And a little girl told me to be brave.
What did you get? Do you remember what you ordered?
I feel like it probably was chicken tendies.
Ah, that's awesome. Cody's like the kind of guy that would order chicken tenders at a Mexican restaurant or any of those other places too, because he's well, I like to say he has a refined palate.
So I, again, have ventured out in my older age and have tried things that, like, if it is renowned to be good or known to be good, I will try it once. So, like, there's a Mexican restaurant in Dallas called Urban Tacos. Has one of the 10 best tacos in the whole state, according to the Dallas newspaper. And so I tried it, and it had, like, weird things on it.
It's still funny, though. You have to admit, your claim to fame for venturing out into uncharted food territory is tacos.
You betcha.
you
And
betcha.
it came with mango slaw.
But that's all the rage. Yeah, I got to admit, I really don't like the sweet things.
I will say it was good for me. So maybe my refined palate's more sweet.
Yeah, I don't like the sweet and savory thing. It's combined. I know that's all the thing to do right now, but anyways, I'm very sad. Red Lobster going away. Red Lobster was one of those things when I was a kid that I thought it was a fancy restaurant, much similar to Olive Garden. You thought that was like the pinnacle of fancy restaurants, and then you grow up and you realize it's not, but it still like takes up that residence in your mind. So for me, Red Lobster, even though it was Red Lobster, to me, going to Red Lobster was special.
Well, I mean, you also have to think we live in the middle of the United States, nowhere near an ocean.
Okay.
And so it is fancy for us.
Ooh, lobster tank. Yeah, we don't get to. I like seafood too, so that makes it when we go to someplace where we can actually get real seafood. Like we went to New Orleans, you get the Gulf shrimp. Oh, they got shrimp like you wouldn't believe down there. The big ones.
Well, I mean, I've been there, so yeah, I believe it.
When I was in New Orleans, I also had I had a lot of things there that I'd never had anywhere else. For the first time, I had gumbo. Never had gumbo before, and then I had squid. Isn't it? Or is it called calamari? Isn't that squid or is that octopus? I get them confused. I don't know which is which. If I'm being honest.
I think calamari squid.
Okay.
Don't quote me.
I had something. I also had alligator.
Gator's good.
Yeah, it's like jerky though. It's kind of you really got to chew it.
So it was kind of fishy chicken.
Ew. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds terrible. Okay, we're 4.5 minutes in. This is Pop Culture Pastor.
Yeah.
And so if you've been just listening and you didn't know what you were listening to, which is entirely possible, first of all, welcome. We're glad you're here. Second, yes, this is Pop Culture Pastor. My name's Dave. Cody's here.
I am.
You're going to add something to your bio. Okay, go ahead.
Cody, the guy who is celebrating Madam Web's release day on Netflix this week.
Well, someone's got to celebrate it.
Yep. Her web connects us all, Dave.
We are licensed pastors, ministers, whatever you want to call it.
Indeed.
And we talk about pop culture because we just enjoy it. We like it. We promise we're not here to convert you yet.
That was very ominous.
You leave the possibility out there. I'm not saying no. I'm not. Yeah, we don't want you to. We want you. We want to hang out with you for sure. But
Yes.
but we're going to talk about pop culture. So no more Red Lobster talk. We got to talk about Chris Hemsworth again.
Why do you keep doing this, Chris?
Well, he's out on the press tour for Furiosa, which apparently is really, really good. People are raving about it.
90% from the critics.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I just didn't know what to expect from it, but he's out on this press tour. Furiosa just got viewed in Cannes at the Cannes Film Festival,
Which is weird to me.
Yeah, I know it is weird. Didn't they take Madam Web to Cannes? No, I'm thinking of Star Wars. They took. No, not Star Wars. I'm thinking of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Kathleen Kennedy took Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny to the Cannes Film Festival. What a colossal mistake.
Know your audience.
What was she thinking? Oh, okay. Let's not talk about that because we could get going. Let's focus. Focus, Cody.
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth. This is according to HollywoodLife.com. He did an interview with them. It says Chris Hemsworth is proud of the work he's done throughout his acting career. While, quote, humility goes a long way. And he did display that when he's talking recently about Thor Love and Thunder. He did not throw anyone else under the bus. He blamed it all on himself. He took responsibility, said he got caught up in the improv of it all and made it a little too jokey from his angle, which I did appreciate. I appreciate that he put it all on himself. You disagree, I can tell. But
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just keep going. He starts talking about the Marvel movies, and he, for the first time, starts calling out other people. And he called out the Marvel actors who, quote, bashed their films because they were box office flops. It's like, this is a quote, direct quote. It's like their films that are successful put me in one. Oh, mine didn't work. I'll bash them. He did that. He said that in a recent interview with the Times of London. And he continues, and it used to bother me when actors would later talk about the show with guilt or shame. Humility goes a long way. So,
I got feelings
Cody,
and thoughts.
All right, Cody, I'm just going to let you go. What do you think about these comments from Chris Hemsworth?
So I told you last time that we talked about Chris Hemsworth and him falling on the sword for Thor: Love and Thunder.
Wait, should we specify who he's talking about here?
Okay.
Like the Marvels, probably. He's probably talking about some of the Marvels actors.
I could see the Eternals.
Who else has spoke out?
Scarlett Johansson spoke out because Black Widow didn't do well, but Disney also was sabotaging her, but that will be a later point. And I imagine that there are people that are upset because their shows keep getting pushed off.
Yeah. I think the Marvels was the one that was most in recent memory.
And maybe Ant-Man Quantumania had a few guest co-stars that...
It's none of the main ones, though.
Not Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
That's what I should
Okay. All right. Now go on. Go on with your thoughts.
Okay. So I told you that I was upset with him falling on the sword for Thor: Love and Thunder. It didn't need an apology.
Backstory. Cody liked the movie.
I did. And still do.
I say that with no judgment.
Yeah.
Cody liked the movie.
I told you I thought that him falling on the sword was a way to ensure his meal ticket on the gravy train.
Cynical Cody is in the house.
Yes. And after I heard this, I'm like, oh, he's doubling down on that. He is doubling down on that. So I'm going to go back to the lady whose web connects us all. Madam Web.
You know, it doesn't matter how many times you say that. It's funny every time.
So, Madam Web, we literally talked about it during the press tour that Dakota Johnson was very harsh on this film, the script in superhero movies. I clearly don't work in this role, and this film was trash, and she just played up to it. Mm-hmm. So, and we told her, bully for you. Way to go. You owned up to it. This was a misstep by your agent / you, and it's on par for Sony in their live action. Animated, they're great. Now, with that being said, it's clear Marvel has been in a tailspin of sorts since Endgame.
That's fair.
Now, Love and Thunder and Spider-Man No Way Home, Guardians of the Galaxy, I would say is like upper echelon DC, EU levels, because they were making bank back in the day with their top movies.
Yeah, you got to mention Multiverse of Madness, too. Yeah, that made good money.
Yeah, so made bank, and then there's quite a few projects and movies that completely missed the mark, and most notably the one with Nick Fury,
The Secret Invasion. Yeah. So bad.
It was really, really bad. And I can imagine that because they had accomplished thespians in some big roles, and I imagine some of them probably had feelings about it. And so I will say, if we are giving Dakota Johnson and all the people that were part of Madam Web a pass because Sony doesn't know how to handle a movie or write a script, Marvel really has been batting closer to the Mendoza line, which is a baseball term. But they have been not hitting on par or for average. Their stuff has been beneath quality.
I think the word you're looking for is it's mid.
It's
been mid.
Yes. Yeah. And if they had maybe budgeted better, no one would be talking about it because it would have made money, and people are like, oh, okay, this is good because it made money.
Yeah, don't spend $300 million on mid.
Yes. And so, but when these movies don't make back the box office, or they barely or break even, or the TV shows just draw in average viewerships, then we blame someone, and it usually starts off with the actors, and then it goes around, and eventually we settle back on, well, Marvel is a sinking ship compared to its heights of Endgame, even though it's miles in front of where it was when the Blade trilogy came out.
Yeah.
So I think these actors deserve the right to voice their opinion, and especially Scarlett Johansson, because Disney did her dirty with their not so, it was mid Black Widow movie, and they purposely released it on streaming at the same time it was in theaters because she doesn't get as much royalties. She doesn't get royalties off the streaming. She got royalties from the box office. And so if you don't have a box office, or you have a partial box office because people can watch it in the comfort of their home, then she's not getting paid. She can make mid, but she wants to get paid for making mid. And the one movie that the Marvel did that rivaled Watchmen. I'll say Watchmen might have some of the best cinematography and has some deep themes to it. The one movie they did, The Eternals, it got bashed, and it was good.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that one. We're in agreement on that.
And so I feel like if the actors are getting bashed because they're in this project, and Disney is hemorrhaging money left and right with Star Wars and Marvel. Like, yeah, you can voice that you're upset about the way this went.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and so Marvel, they made a mistake with Eternals, which is, I think they thought with movies like Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, they thought, oh, we can just take any characters and it'll be gold. And I think when Marvel has gotten in trouble, I think it's because they've felt a little too lofty with themselves. Mm-hmm. They've felt a little too confident. And the problem with Guardians of the Galaxy, saying that, oh, everybody will just eat up Marvel, is you're taking James Gunn's work and you're saying that's just Marvel. Well, no, that was James Gunn. Look, James Gunn's not always my most favorite director, and the way he handles things, I don't like the way he's handling things, you know, social media and public relations wise, but give the guy credit. It was because of him. He made Guardians of the Galaxy what they are, because it's not like those comic books were all goofy and fun like that.
Yeah.
They just weren't. And so he made them. Ant-Man, it's not like Ant-Man's a super interesting character in the comics. He was never, it's not like Ant-Man is out there selling millions and millions of copies of issues, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember who the director was for the first Ant-Man, but they made Ant-Man special. They made it funny. They made, you know, the whole cast too. It's not just Paul Rudd. It's, you know, the sidekicks are interesting. The bad guys interesting. Corey Stoll was good in that first movie. Michael Douglas as Hank Pym is great. So there's all sorts of things that make that movie work. And Marvel thought, well, we can just do it with anything. And then they made the Eternals. Like, listen, I'm just going to be honest. As a comic book lover, was never interested in the Eternals. No one cares about the Eternals. And so you make an artsy-fartsy movie, which, granted, I just told you I enjoyed, but don't be surprised when the normies aren't into it.
Oh, yeah.
So, but Marvel, the problem with Marvel is they don't learn the lessons.
Nope.
Right? So even when Multiverse of Madness is a great movie to point out, it makes money. Thor: Love and Thunder is an excellent example.
$750 million.
They're still making bank. But there are issues, there are problems, and people start pointing this out. But it's like Marvel was like, nope, still making money, we don't care. And it just goes farther and farther left. Now, as far as what Chris Hemsworth was saying about these other actors, I tend to agree with you. I think he's just getting in good because he wants to make another Thor movie, and why wouldn't you? I get it. If he's going to go hard at some of these actors, though, like, why wouldn't you go at Miss Marvel? Like, here's the problem. I really don't like the Miss Marvel, the conversation around Miss Marvel, is because now all the people that were involved in that movie, they're like, well, we made a good movie, but everyone that hates it just hates it because they're terrible, chauvinistic men. Like, oh, come on. That movie was mid. You made a mid movie, and you take out Kamala Khan and her family, and it's super mid. They were the most interesting thing about that movie.
Indeed.
So if it's just Brie Larson and Spectrum, whatever her name is, I can't think of the actress's name right now. But if it's just those two, that's a terrible movie.
Yeah, and the whole singing dance planet even gets worse if you don't have Miss Marvel with Captain Marvel and Spectrum.
So all of their comments around that since that movie's come out have been really annoying because, no, you can't blame that. Don't blame your movie not making money on the political stuff. Like, look, there is a very loud minority out there of people who are not cool people, who are chauvinistic, who are sexist, who are overly political, and they're trying to bomb on that movie because it is led by females. I admit they're out there, but they're a minority. Most people want to see good Marvel movies, and we already proved that. Movies were making $1 billion.
Oh, yeah.
So just don't make mid movies, and you'll still make money, and it doesn't matter how loud that minority gets because we like good stuff.
And also, be aware that if you're an actor and you're signing up for a Marvel movie, you're making a popcorn movie.
Yeah. Don't take yourself so seriously. Just have fun. Like, look, we can bash Madam Web all day, but their press tour, chef's kiss. They knew they made a stinker. And she's Dakota Johnson's just out there hamming it up, and it was perfect. It's like, hey, this movie's not going to make it if we sell it seriously. Let's just call it what it is, and let's have fun. And I guarantee it made more money because of that.
It's webbing time.
Yeah. So, anyways, you didn't go as hard as I thought you were going to go.
I've cooled off a little bit since I initially read the article, but I feel like Chris Hemsworth is sliding on my favorite Chris's.
Yeah. I mean, he could have said, well, Marvel hasn't been doing their part either.
I mean, they literally released these movies.
Yeah.
They watched them before they were released. If Thor: Love and Thunder was so bad, why did they release it?
Honestly, the most damning thing I can say about Marvel of any of the movies they've released in the last few years was that they were, quote, they were reportedly stunned that people didn't like Quantumania. And that just blows my mind. Like, you watched that movie and you thought that was good? That's unbelievable to me. And that's a bad sign.
Oof.
Deadpool and Wolverine better be good. And I hear some rumblings that Ryan Reynolds and Feige are going at each other because Feige's wanting to make some changes and Reynolds is like, if you make changes, I'm out. Like, so they're setting up another Deadpool movie, apparently. This is all rumor.
Well, as they should.
But
that is a box office cash cow.
Behind the scenes, there's things that Feige's trying to pull stuff out of the movie after telling Reynolds to go make the movie you want. And now Disney's doing their Disney thing, and Reynolds is like, if you do this, I'm out.
Oh, you don't want to lose Reynolds.
No.
Not at this point.
No.
Because this is your, at least, facade that we're back.
Yeah.
Even if it's not really, we're back.
And it's reportedly, you want to get real nuts? Reportedly, it's about violence. Like, Disney's trying to tone down the violence in a rated R Deadpool movie.
It's
like,
a Deadpool movie.
Did you not see the first two?
Did you not read the comics?
Oh, man.
Deadpool's not for kids.
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, but you about to get really mad? You want to get really mad?
Yeah.
Let's
Rage Against the Machine.
Let's get really judgy. Let's talk about Tom Brady.
Thomas Brady?
Thomas? Did you watch the Tom Brady roast?
No, but I generally don't like roast.
No, roasts are terrible.
The only one...
Tell me why you don't like roasts, Cody.
Well, because half the time, it's not even about the person that they're supposed to be roasting. They roast everyone else.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they are literally just bashing in on someone and their family.
Yeah.
It's like that episode of The Office where they roast Michael Scott and then he walks out and then is like all sad and mopey for the next day. It just doesn't set well. The only roast moment that I liked was the roast of Bob Saget. They had attacked Bob over and over and over. And then Norm Macdonald gets up there and he tells jokes from like a 1940s joke book. And like, these are not hurtful or harmful. And it's just so out of the blue. And the audience doesn't know how to react. But Bob Saget and other comedians are rolling because they're in on the joke that he's like, I'm not going to be your typical roaster. And so, yes, I'm not huge on him. I also think if we're going back to Chris Hemsworth, he was correct that humility is a good virtue. And I mean, having a roast is not humble. And I don't like it. It's too showy.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty bitter now, too.
Yes.
They've changed. Like,
Comedy
look,
Central took it to the extreme, and everyone else is trying to be Comedy Central now.
it's obviously not the same as, Dean Martin back in the Rat Pack, back in the day in the 70s with his roasts, where, they're making fun of people, but it didn't seem so mean-spirited. Now they're super mean-spirited. And I didn't watch it, but I saw some of the highlights, and some of the jokes that they were making at Tom Brady's expense, they made a lot of jokes about him basically abandoning his family to play football, abandoning his first girlfriend who he had 2 kids with while she was pregnant with the second, leaving her. They made some jokes about that. Now, here's what Tom Brady said. He was on the Pivot podcast, which, how do we get Tom Brady on our podcast? How does that happen?
Tom, I am a big fan. I even have a Brady is GOAT shirt.
Well, we're about to destroy all chances of him ever coming on this pod because I have thoughts.
YOLO.
He said on the Pivot podcast, he was asked about his takeaways from the roast, which is on Netflix right now. And I'm getting this from the New York Post, just to give them credit. He said, quote, "I loved when the jokes were about me. I thought they were so fun." Well, except for the one where he said, "Don't say that again."
Well,
to Jeff Ross.
That was about Bob Kraft. He told, He told everyone before the roast, Robert Kraft is off limits.
Which is weird.
It is.
Because he didn't say anything about his wife and kids before the roast. Or, his ex-wife.
Yes.
He said this, "I didn't like the way that it affected my kids." Now listen to that language, Cody. You decided to be roasted. He agreed to being roasted. And you thought nobody was going to talk about you basically abandoning your family for a game you'd already accomplished everything you could accomplish. Like, the way it affected my kids. What? They're just bringing up reality, bro. You affected your kids.
And it doesn't help that he said either immediately before or it was right after, 1 and 2. When someone offers you, I don't remember how much it was. I think it was like $20 million to be the person roasted. Whoa. And all you have to do is sit there. Yeah, I will take that every day. So he said that comment. And I mean, there's consequences for your actions, even if your actions are very minimal. Because like he said, he was just sitting there taking it. But it's going to have an effect on those that are close to you.
Yeah. I just can't believe that these people got up there and on a roast of Tom Brady, and they're talking about him leaving his families. Multiple sets, by the way. They're bringing this up and they're selling jokes about it, and his comments are, "Well, I didn't like the way their jokes affected my kids." Oh, you didn't like the way them talking about reality? Like, do you see how what the block he has there? Like, dude, they're talking about your decisions and actions.
So,
and granted, they're making jokes on a televised on Netflix, but that was also his decision. I guess I'm just saying, where's the personal responsibility here?
Well, he would probably clap back that the first family, yes, that was all him. The second one, he would probably say 2 to tango. And talking about being mean-spirited, Giselle, who wasn't even there, wasn't even a part of it, like, she got blasted by presenter after presenter during this because of her alleged cheating towards the end of their marriage. And like, that doesn't need to be brought up.
No, but then we're back to the whole beginning part of, like, these roasts. Just get rid of them. Just do away with them. We did a whole episode on Is Comedy Dead, and we talked about a lot of this stuff. But this isn't it. This isn't what we were talking about. When We talked a lot in that episode, and y'all should go back and listen to it if you want. We talked a lot about how we lack humility, and now we lack the ability to make fun of ourselves. But these go too far. The roast stuff, and I will agree with you. The stuff they were saying was too far. And they were saying stuff about their family, his family. But at the end of the day, I'm still like, well, what did you think they were going to talk about? The fact that he can't, we just talked about Chris Hemsworth taking responsibility for his performance in movies and talking about humility. And this guy thought that he was going to get made fun of and they weren't going to talk about that. I mean, come on, man. Come on, Thomas. You're better than that. Like,
oh, Tommy.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Adam Sandler.
Sandman.
It's official. Happy Gilmore 2 is happening.
Oh, I'm so sad.
Why are you sad?
Okay, so I will tell you a story that was about the same years in the making. Forever and a day, everyone and their mom said, you know what movie needs a sequel? Dumb and Dumber. I mean, literally. No, like forever. It was, well, they can't get Jim Carrey on board, or they can't get the right director, or the script isn't good enough. Like, it had been in the making for almost 20 years. They released that movie, and you know how many times I've seen it? 0, because the trailer was so bad and it got horrific reviews.
I saw it once.
And everyone I know that watched it was like, well, it definitely wasn't the first one. And so, like, I don't want the first one to be tarnished by a mid-second.
But it's not tarnished. You never even saw it. You can still go back and watch the first one. It's still funny.
I know. I'm saying that's why I didn't watch it. I didn't want that tarnished.
But that's not always the case. It's not like that's what always happens.
It's more often than not.
I don't know. I'm willing to watch a Happy Gilmore 2. This tweet went viral here a few weeks back when this first started getting rumored. And this guy said, at Crane T. Nelson said this, breaks my heart to predict this movie will suck. Not because the script will be bad or Sandler's performance will be bad, but because we simply do not live in the world that made the original so popular. That world is gone, and we need to start figuring out what works in this one. So let me tell you my problem with that. That is imagining that they're going to make a movie on par with the first one. That's not what you just talked about. Dumb and Dumber 2, the second one with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, was not on par with the first one. They made a lesser movie, and it was not as funny.
Same with Joe Dirt.
This guy's saying that because, quote unquote, the world has changed. Like, first of all, again, that's a statement that lacks humility. What do you mean the world changes? No, we changed. That's what makes the world change. So the world doesn't change. We change. We, as a people, as a culture, have become more pompous. We're more irritable. We're more self-centered. And we also now lack the humility necessary to laugh at ourselves.
So I'll clap back at that. This is a world that Adam Sandler still makes movies that are essentially goofy, off the rails.
They're not as good, though.
Well,
they're not. They're not the same quality.
You might say that's us maturing and not being with Adam as he's maturing. And so he's still making bank. We aren't that far removed.
Okay. So well, let's go with that then.
It's going to get its fair chance. That's what I'm going to say.
If you're telling me that Happy Gilmore 2, if Adam Sandler's still the same and it doesn't do as well, then basically this still stands. If more people don't like it, it's not that we matured. Would you say we're more mature than we were 30 years ago?
I think the viewing audience that cares about Adam Sandler's more mature.
Oh, that might be. But it's not that we don't appreciate it. I'm more mature than I was 30 years ago, but I would still appreciate a good, absurd Adam Sandler comedy. I would still appreciate seeing more Happy Gilmore. I guess what I'm saying is like, I think for by and large, we're still the same. I think what has changed is because of a lot of factors, the internet, social media, our humility is lesser. We're not as humble as a people because we all think we're right about things. Everyone's got a podcast, everyone's got a blog, everyone's got, you know what I'm saying? Like we all think we're right about things.
I'm on 2 podcasts.
I'm basically saying, Cody, Happy Gilmore 2 won't suck. You will.
I'm saying I really think the script will, and that comedy sequels rarely pan out. European Vacation.
That's it. End of list.
Yeah.
End of list. Okay. We've gone long.
We have.
Let's talk about our main subject. We'll be right back. All right, Cody, we're here to talk about an interesting subject, I think. It's sort of born out of the same thinking we had with, like, remember the episode we did on Ralph Macchio?
Yeah.
Where we said, is Ralph Macchio the worst? Is he like the worst in everything? And how did he get so big? How did he get so popular? It seems like in pop culture, these guys, whether it be actors, actresses, movies themselves, projects,
Yeah.
musical acts, bands, singers, even books maybe, it seems like sometimes they get big and they're popular. And then after years go by, we go back and we're like, how did that happen?
It was weird.
And so, like, what do we want to call this, first of all? Because I'm not even sure what to call this. Like, were we gaslit? Is that like what we're going with? Or what's the official explanation of this?
Were they worth the hype?
Yeah. Okay. Was it real or was it hype? Real or hype?
There we go.
Real or hype?
This is the kind of quality show that talks it out.
Did they have the goods or did we get gaslit?
We probably got gaslit on half of mine.
So we've got a list. Each of us came with a list, and we're just going to kind of go through them and talk about, were they real or were they hype? Was it cap? Is that what the kids say?
It was probably cap.
Yeah.
Some of it might be no cap, though.
No cap. Okay. So do you want to go first? Who's your first person here?
Okay, so there was a weird figure in the late 90s, early aughts, musician.
Oh.
Related to the guy that wrote Moby Dick.
What?
Yes, that's a real fact. And was weirdly in How I Met Your Mother, like a couple episodes. Yeah, I'm talking about Richard Melville Hall, better known as Moby.
Wait, Moby was related to Herman Melville?
Yes.
That's why he's named Moby?
Part of the reason. So I will tell you, there are 2 songs that I know by Moby. One of them is We Are All Made of Stars. Mm-hmm. And the other one is Southside, which featured Gwen Stefani doing background vocals. And that's literally all she does. She doesn't have like any solos, no runs. It is just her singing background to Moby.
You know, the worst thing I could say about it is I can't even think of how those songs went. Like, those songs are completely gone from my memory.
And so, but he was huge.
Yeah, he sold 20 million records.
Which is bananas to me, especially when you look at Moby.
And when he like left the public consciousness, he was gone. And I assumed he didn't stop making records. We just stopped being interested.
He's vegan.
That's all we needed to hear. It's over. Total hype, all cap.
So my question is, because he was kind of dance, electronic, was he just in the right place at the right time where, like, we didn't have all these people like Calvin Harris and David Guetta who, like, mix songs and do it, like, epically so much so that it foreshadows the actual person that's singing? Because I feel like that's kind of what he did, but he sang on his, and we're using the word singing loosely. Or was he actually like a pioneer and is worthy of the hype?
No, I don't think he pioneered anything. And there were lots of DJs. There are lots of guys making electronic music before Moby. And I'm not really sure. Music, let's first say that the music industry itself is big. This is a big subject, what we're talking about here, because so much of the music industry is catching lightning in a bottle. I know, I've heard, I've seen, and I know talented acts that were super talented and didn't make it. You know, like they couldn't catch it. I've also seen musical acts that I feel like aren't very talented, but yet they got huge. Like, this person is not on my list, but what about Britney Spears?
Ouch!
What do you mean, ouch?
Ouch!
Okay. She's not on my list. But there's someone I'm going to bring up on my list here tonight that we're going to talk about that's the same thing. Why Moby? Is he even as good as the Gorillas?
That's a valid point.
I don't think so. I think the Gorillas are better. How come they didn't never get they haven't sold 20 million records?
I don't think they have. It'd be amazing if they did.
No, they should. They're better.
But yeah, no, Moby. And he just takes up a weird space in my mind because I'm like coming of age as Moby's becoming at his height.
Yeah.
And then again, after How I Met Your Mother, being on that show for a little bit, he disappears from all humanity besides you should eat vegetables, not meat.
Get out of here, Moby. You get out of here. Like, look, if you wanted to eat vegetables and never eat meat, that's fine. I don't care if that's something you want to do. What I care about is them, like, once you stand up on your box and start saying, this is how everyone should eat because I eat this way, that's when I have a problem with it. That's when I'm like, dude, go away. Just leave people alone.
Do it.
And like, look, I don't want to be super mean, but I've yet to meet a vegan I thought looked super healthy. They usually look pretty sickly and thin.
Apologizing if any of our listeners are vegans. Dave has not seen you, most likely.
I'm not saying all of them, but the ones who are vocal about it. They look like Moby. and like, look, we have a health problem in this country. And it's good to be thinner for sure. It's good to like control your weight. But I'm saying most of the ones that I know that are really vocal about it, they're like super thin. Thinner than you, Cody. Cody's a pretty thin dude.
And Moby.
Moby's really thin. That's neither here nor there.
Pasty.
He looks kind of pasty. He doesn't. That's what I'm saying. His skin doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look healthy. And he didn't make good music. Sorry, Moby.
Maybe he was a nepotism baby.
I think he caught lightning in a bottle. I don't think he's all that talented, if I'm being honest.
/ Moby.
All right. The first guy on my list, you may have heard of him. We've talked about him before on the program. He is the best mouth actor in the game.
Oh!
His name is Kevin Costner. Now, Kevin Costner is a highly decorated actor, producer, and director. He's received many awards, including 2 Academy Awards, 3 Golden Globe Awards, and a Primetime Emmy Award. And my question to you, Cody, is he really that good? Is he good?
So I will tell you, sometimes guest star on the show, Jackson Chauncey really doesn't like Kevin Costner at all. When he bit the dust in Man of Steel, Jackson, I think, cheered. So
let's just look. I'm going to go through his filmography real quick. Just the main moments. He kind of comes on the scene in The Big Chill in 1983. That's his first big movie. Then he's in The Untouchables, where The Untouchables in 1987 is when he starts blowing up. In 1987 alone, you have The Untouchables, you have No Way Out, both huge movies. 88, Bull Durham. 89, Field of Dreams.
I was going to say, if you just stick Kevin Costner in a baseball movie, it's going to be good.
Yeah. And then in 1990, he starts blowing the doors off because that's when he's in Dances with Wolves. He's also the director and producer of Dances with Wolves. This is where he starts winning Academy Awards. And to be fair, he's good in Dances with Wolves. But in 1991, he's also in a movie called Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Now,
he's my least favorite Robin Hood.
Yeah. I love that movie. He's my least favorite part. He's not my favorite part about the movie.
Robin Hood, Men in Tights. So much better.
His acting is atrocious in that movie, if we're being honest. He's in The Bodyguard, or JFK in 91, Bodyguard in 1992, Wyatt Earp in 1994, Waterworld, which is a colossal disaster in 1995. Tin Cup. It's interesting. The movies where we think, oh, he was actually pretty good in that, and the acting, they're all sort of similar. Field of Dreams, Bull Durham, Tin Cup. He's playing the same dude.
So you're saying he's a one-trick pony, potentially.
Acting-wise, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so the question is put before you. Is he cap? Is he hype? Or is he the real deal? Because this dude's had a long career, and it's still going on. He was, of course, in Man of Steel. He was in Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. He was in The Highwayman in 2019.
Yellowstone.
Yeah, and then of course the thing he's most known for in the last 5 to 10 years, Yellowstone.
I will say, I think if you're wanting him to be the lead or carry a movie, I think you're right that it has to fit within a certain vein, that he might be a one-trick pony. Now, if you're needing him for just a small cameo, essentially, like his part in the Justice League after Man of Steel, where he just appears to Clark and Visions and they're short, like, oh, I'm good with it, because it's not that much Kevin. It's just him talking, and then boom, we're done. And I don't have to think about Kevin Costner that much.
Yeah. I think he catches lightning in a bottle. So The Untouchables is like the first thing that people really remember him from. It's the budget's $25 million, but it makes $106 million, which is a respectable deal. Like, that's a good outcome in, let's see, 1987. It's a 1987 movie. And then he makes a run of what I would call very good decisions. Okay? So No Way Out, Bull Durham, even Field of Dreams has a romantic aspect to it. Mm-hmm. Where, like, even Field of Dreams, he's like the loving husband and dad, right? He's trying to balance it. Revenge has a romantic aspect to it. Even Dances with Wolves that has a love interest. Robin Hood. He makes a run of decisions where he really appeals, where he really starts gaining traction is as a heartthrob, especially to middle-aged women, which is a weird group to appeal to. But he's got that magical mullet. He's got that flowing early 90s mullet hair that just drove the ladies wild. And I think that it all kind of drives from there. His popularity is actually driven as this like romantic lead, even though not all the movies perfectly line up with that. But I think that's where he really gains his backing. And it allows him to do movies like JFK. The Bodyguard, totally romantic film.
Oh, yeah.
Wyatt Earp, but he starts doing these other projects that are his. Waterworld, which is regarded as one of the biggest flops in Hollywood history.
Wyatt Earp's trash compared to Tombstone.
Yeah.
I'll say what I said.
So I don't think it's trash. It's just not as good and not as memorable.
It's trash. I'll say it for you.
But he does The Postman, which these are his projects, and then they don't do as well. But then look what he does. He goes back to Tin Cup, romantic lead. Like the movie has a golf backdrop, but it's mostly about this relationship between him and Rene Russo. You see what I'm saying? And that movie's regarded well. He gets back on that track. So I think his fame is totally driven by being kind of a middle-aged heartthrobbish guy.
Probably is.
Yeah. So I'm going to say it's Cap because I don't think he's all that good of an actor. Now, if you're talking mouth acting, he's the best in the game.
And no one's talking.
Nobody even comes close. Although Sir Anthony Hopkins in that Netflix movie about where he plays Sigmund Freud and he has a meeting with C.S. Lewis. If you haven't seen that, Anthony Hopkins does some great mouth acting in that movie. It should be an Academy Award category. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Hit me with the next one.
So since you said that one, I'll piggyback.
All right.
Taylor Sheridan.
Oh, we're making some listeners really mad right now.
So my big complaint with Yellowstone when it first came out, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I knew what it was. It was Sons of Anarchy set in cowboy motif, essentially. Because I can tell you, living with family members that are ranchers, nowhere near a tenth of the stuff that happens at this ranch happens on a ranch.
Yeah, we live in Kansas. Like, there are ranchers around.
So I'll go through his stuff because I do think that, like, when it's good, it's pretty good. But then, like, a series, I think they go too long. So Yellowstone, as it got to the end, went too long.
Yeah, well, it's not good after the first couple seasons, though.
1883
Good.
was good.
But it's historical.
Yes. Wind River was good. 1923 evidently was good. I haven't watched it yet. Sicario, supposed to be good. Let's see. Sons of Anarchy, which he was on, and then he kind of helped co-produce. Towards the end, it got rough. Those Who Wish Me Dead. I went to the movies and watched this with Kiefer, who has been on the podcast. And he had told me, Sicario was so good and Wind River was so good. Taylor Sheridan just makes great movies. And it had Angelina Jolie in it. And it was trash. It was so bad. I couldn't get my 2 hours back of my life. Without Remorse, 12 Strong, Vile. Like, you haven't heard of some of these because they aren't that good. Others, like, again, Yellowstone after, like, season 3, it's not worth tuning in for. 1883 had a historical backdrop and had some phenomenal actors. Phenomenal. And I don't think he's that good of an actor because where I first meet him he is a sheriff deputy on Sons of Anarchy. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where he gets the, I guess, significance to become a actual producer, writer, director. And so I think he's hype. What do you think?
I don't know. It's hard to argue with his body of work. We did say that we liked several of his things. I think he's talented. I don't think he helps himself because he's not super likable.
No.
In interviews, he comes off as very rough around the edges, very opinionated on other things. Like we were just talking about athletes. off the air. We didn't record this, but we were talking about athletes being told to quote unquote shut up and dribble. And really, athletes aren't as guilty of it as much as Hollywood people are.
Oh, yeah.
And Taylor Sheridan is outspoken on some kind of hot buttony yet really super. He takes up space in kind of that ultra conservative manly man place.
Although I think he's fake on that.
Yeah, well, he knows who his audience is, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He doesn't come across as a very likable dude, which I think affects the way people think about him. But yeah, I mean, but look at the stuff he's done. He's done Sons of Anarchy. He's done Yellowstone.
Now, I think Kurt Sutter, the creator of Sons of Anarchy, and director, and he was in a few episodes. He's the driving force behind Sons. I'm not going to give Taylor much because Taylor just chips in money towards the end so he can get producing credit.
Yeah. I will say, I think Taylor's at his best when he does historical things. So by all accounts, I haven't watched 1923, but people seem to like it. Critics seem to think it was good. 1883 was excellent. I thought it was great.
Sad.
Yeah, but it was a Western, a historical Western done the way I think historical Westerns should be done, where you can make it a lot more accurate than they used to be made, and it's still very much enjoyable. And I thought it was great, and I thought the acting was really good. The problem with Yellowstone, you already mentioned. I think it overstays its welcome. It gets too full of itself. The characters become caricatures.
And again, it then becomes so unrealistic. It's obnoxious.
I'm gonna say I think he's the real deal. I just don't think he's super likable, and that affects.
I'm also kind of concerned because there's like 10 other projects that are supposed to be around Yellowstone that I'm like, I don't know if we need this much connection.
We definitely don't need it. Definitely don't need it. All right, next on my list. I feel like I'm about to make some people mad. Just know that a lot of these are on my list because I really don't know.
Okay.
I'm asking, is this group the real deal or are they hype? Did they just ride out a good early burst? And I'm talking about a band called Metallica. Now, Metallica...
I might not be the one to ask about this.
11 studio albums, 4 live albums, 12 video albums. The band has won 10 Grammy Awards off of 26 nominations. They're no doubt successful and probably one of the most successful hard rock bands of all time. But if you're asking me my opinion, I don't think they've made good music since the Black Album. With an exception here or there.
So, yeah, I'll agree with that. I also think it's hard to measure because hard rock's not as popular as it was. Now, I mean, there's definitely hard rock fans out there, but as a genre, it has kind of taken a back seat within the mainstream. I don't like Metallica because they were the jabronis that were like, Napster's causing us to lose millions.
Okay, so this is interesting because this is a part of the discussion. We just talked about it with Taylor Sheridan. Does it matter if they're not very likable? And yeah, they take a huge hit public relations wise. Everyone's vision. So Metallica comes into popularity is because they were totally underground. Like they're putting out bootlegs of underground recordings. That's how they become popular. That's how they become a thing. You're cool if you're listening to Metallica in the 80s. You're listening. Eventually they put out Master of Puppets and Justice for All. And they're not super huge commercial successes, but there's something about them where they're like, oh, and they totally rise to popularity on the bootleg. I want to stress that. And then they're the ones to lead the charge against bootlegging? No, bro.
So I think within the mainstream culture now, there is not only a nostalgia factor, kind of like probably 20 years ago with like the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, like, oh, it was something that was popular a long time ago, and so it's cool now. But Stranger Things. Stranger Things now has a younger generation than me thinking, oh, Metallica was just great. And I'm like, no, they're fascists.
I mean, in all honesty, so 1984, Ride the Lightning comes out. And nobody was listening to them. Hardly anybody. If you were listening to him into 1984, if you had the Ride the Lightning album, you were a true fan. Right?
Yeah.
Like you were the real deal. Even 1986, Master Puppets. If you were listening to them in 1986, even into 1988 and Justice for All, you're the real deal. You're a true fan. Then the Black Album, it's actually just self-named. It's Metallica. 1991, that comes out, and that's when they explode. They've got tons of Billboard hits just on that album. There's probably like 4, maybe even 5. I don't even know. That's Inner Sandman is on that album. Nothing Else Matters. I mean, huge songs that just do huge. But that was in 1991. Everything since then. No. I mean, they've got like one song on Load, like Fuel. Give me fuel, give me fire. Saint Anger had like one good song that comes out in 2003. But really, after 1991, they never come close to what they were doing before. And I liked that Black Album is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I'm just here to say, maybe I'm just a grumpy old man, but I think my heart hurts to say this. I think Metallica's cap, bro. I think they're hype. I think they're living off of 1991 and before.
That's fair. I'm not saying that they are talentless hacks.
They're not. No, of course they're talented.
They're talented. I don't think their music is as relevant as they think it is. That's how I'll word it.
Yes, I agree.
My next one, it's weird because this person's been in a ton of big hits. Blues Brothers, Ghostbusters, 1, 2, Trading Places, Coneheads, My Girl, The Great Outdoors, Tommy Boy, even is in the Britney Spears hit movie Crossroads, and Spies Like Us, and then is in maybe one of the weirdest kind of cringe movies that should be a big hit based off the names that are in it, but it never really was. Nothing But Trouble. Because you have John Candy, Chevy Chase, Demi Moore, and the person that I'm about to mention, Daniel Aykroyd. Saturday Night Live, I think original cast member. I think he's part of that original crew. If not, he's like the second season. Mm-hmm. Is he good?
Now, listen, I knew you were going to bring this up, and I actually mentioned this to my 16-year-old daughter. So I like her viewpoint on this because she's young. She's, the youngest generation. And she was confused because I think she thinks Dan Aykroyd's great. And she's watched a lot of this 80s stuff with me. We just watched Blues Brothers here a couple weeks ago. And she liked it. She thought it was good. She didn't think it was the best musical she's ever seen, but she liked it. And she was like, what? She was like, she almost said, Cody, she was thinking it. She was thinking, oh, I can't abide by this Dan Aykroyd slander.
And that's bananas to me. So I guess I should also clarify, when I'm growing up, Dan Aykroyd gets at least one series, and maybe it's 2, where he is the main star, and it's a television series, and it only lasts like a season or 2, and then it's gone. One of them, he was a Catholic priest. And so, like, he didn't have the staying power by the time I'm old enough to, like, have solid memories. Now, like, all the stuff before, I mean, these are huge hits. I'm even leaving off, like, smaller roles in 1941. I mean, Sergeant Bilko. He's in a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through a list of his biggest things, and you stop me when I say one where he was the best part of the movie.
Okay.
All right? The Blues Brothers.
No.
Trading Places.
No.
Ghostbusters.
No.
Spies Like Us.
No.
The Great Outdoors.
Close, but no.
Ghostbusters 2.
Definitely no.
My Girl.
No.
Sneakers.
I completely forgot that movie existed.
He's not the best part. It's Robert Redford. Let's see. Tommy Boy.
Nope.
Yeah. And so Gross Point Blank is a good movie, but he's not the best part. Although he is good in that movie. I liked him in that movie. Here's the thing. That's what I'm kind of left with. I liked him in Ghostbusters. I liked his performance in Great Outdoors. But he's never the best part. He's at least Ralph Macchio.
So,
But he enjoys a higher status because he gets a lot more of his, like you said, his own stuff. And when he headlines, it almost universally sucks.
Coneheads.
My Stepmother is an Alien was a huge movie when it came out. Starring him and Kim Basinger. It was terrible. Coneheads. It's another great example. Terrible movie. Based on a not great
SNL skit. So I told Jackson my question about Dan Aykroyd, and Jackson worded it like this: he's the friend that tags along with another friend. The friend you want to hang out with is bringing Dan Aykroyd. So if you want to be with that friend, Dan Aykroyd's going to be there.
Listen, we're having a get together, and we really want Bill Murray to come over. But if Bill Murray comes, he's bringing Dan with him. Can we deal with Dan? I like that, but I think it's unfair because I think when he's in a supporting role, he can be good.
He does what he needs to do.
He is. He's Robert Ory, right?
Big shot Bob.
Yeah, he can hit some one-liners. He can come up clutch for you in a couple scenes, but he's never the biggest part of the team.
Nope.
I think the mistake we made was thinking he was more than he was. So I'm going to say, yeah, he's kind of hype, but also capable if you put him in the right place. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. Definitely don't let him make Blues Brothers 2000. What were they thinking? All right.
They weren't.
It is time for my next on my list. I'm going to give you the accolades first for my movie, because this is a movie. Came out in 1997. Made, oh man, is this right? Whew. Cost $200 million, which in 1997 is a ton, but it made $2.2 billion.
Oh, I know what movie we're talking about.
With a B.
Is it directed by my friend JC?
It is. Jimmy Cameron. It's nominated for 14 Academy Awards and won 11. I'm talking about the movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, and Billy Zane, Kathy Bates. The movie is Titanic.
Yes. All 2 VHS tapes.
Is this movie actually good, or is it spectacle?
So I think part of it's spectacle, but I've rewatched it quite a bit just because my wife really loves the movie. And like, I'm never like glued to the edge of my seat, but I'm also not like, can we watch something else?
There's good performances in it.
And like, if anything, as I've watched it as an adult, I appreciate Billy Zane more.
Exactly. Billy Zane cannot be slandered. He's amazing.
And so I think, is it worth the $2.2 billion that it brought in? No. Was it a good movie and probably ahead of its time? Yes. And I think James Cameron does that well.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about Jimmy Cameron, who you can't argue with his stats, okay? Even though he's not likable sometimes.
So many movies in the top 10 box office gross.
You've got Leo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, Billy Zane, Kathy Bates. Everyone forgets about Danny Nucci, but not me.
Someone needs to remember who Danny is.
You got all these people involved with this, and you think, oh, that movie was amazing. And yet, the most iconic piece of this entire movie, however many years later, is Celine Dion's song. That's the most iconic thing. That's the thing that lives on. Not so much the movie. I don't think people think about the movie that much anymore.
Song. Now, there is a scene that was popular to recreate.
Mm-hmm. There's memes. There's memeable moments in the movie.
Like when I rode the Staten Island ferry, I'm like, I'm the king of the world.
Yep.
I did it.
That's more of an Office meme, though.
And it is that. And it was also done on Spin City.
Okay.
They recreated that moment with Michael J. Fox. And so it is. I don't think it's as hype as we give it.
Hypothetical question. Let me do this.
Okay.
If you take out the historical portion of it, make it any other ship, and just examine the story, is it even as interesting? Or is it because it's the Titanic and it's a huge monumental historic event?
I would say it's probably 80% that it's the Titanic and it's a huge monumental historical event.
Yeah.
And
we're oddly fascinated with the Titanic.
They got on the Leo gravy train at the right time.
They did. There was good timing there. Kate Winslet, too.
Yes.
They get Kate Winslet. She goes on to win lots of Academy Awards, lots of awards. And this is kind of the start for her. So there was good timing at least, but I'm not so sure that it's as good as we remember.
Okay. I got another movie, and this one I'll go quick on just because I already have feelings. And this one will get us canceled. The Crow.
Oh, The Crow.
So...
Cap.
Okay, so that's where I'm at. There's a lot of sentimental value to The Crow, just because Brandon Lee dies in the making of it. They didn't even finish it. Like, he dies with a few days left of filming. And you can see, like, they did some creative storytelling to fill in those gaps. But it's not that great of a story, especially the way they had to tell it, because your star died. And then so many years removed, I kind of feel cringy that they released this movie where the star died making it.
Yeah. Yeah, like The Crow's in a weird space, too, because... So for me, when I think of The Crow, I always think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I know that sounds weird.
That is weird.
But they both start from the same place. They're these like kind of independent comics that are kind of dark. Mm-hmm. They're very dark in The Crow's case. And they get into this place where they're popular enough where they're going to try and make a cult movie. And honestly, it's almost like that old adage from, Batman. You either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself turned into a kid's cartoon. I changed it because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes, TMNT did it.
If you loved the early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics and then you fell into a coma and woke up and now you see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and you're like, what is this nonsense? Because it was super brutal and violent.
Unless you just skip to the part where we're about the last Ronin now.
Yeah.
Because they're in talks of making the movie and all that jazz. So,
but The Crow comes from the same kind of place. It's just because Brandon Lee dies in the making of it, which I agree with your assessment, makes it kind of weird that they released the movie and it's in this weird place of I feel icky watching it or being a fan of it. Maybe if he doesn't die, it goes on and gets more commercial. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if it's in the same place that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are at, because obviously when you're talking about, anamorphic or whatever, when animals act like humans, that's a little bit of a different area and obviously lends itself to being for kids. But The Crow would have never gone that direction. But I don't know. I think Sting, the wrestler Sting, makes it more popular than it ever was.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he claims that it was his own thing and they weren't directly copying The Crow, but come on, they were copying The Crow.
Well, he has said that Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, had suggested a crow-like gimmick for him, and that was kind of the inspiration.
Okay.
So crow-esque.
Okay. Let's go. Okay, so I've got a few left. I'm assuming you have a few left.
Yes.
Let's go lightning round.
Okay.
Okay? I'll go first. Hootie and the Blowfish. Are they real or are they hype?
They're real. I just think that they caught lightning in the bottle with their sound being popular for like a 3 years period.
Yeah, they hit at the right time. All their top 10 singles are off the first album.
Yep.
Like, and I'm not so sure. I don't know enough about music to be able to judge this completely. Darius Rucker's super talented, but I don't know enough about the band. Was the band worthy of it? I don't know.
Were the Blowfish good?
I don't know. I liked them. It hurts my heart a little bit to bring them up, but here we are.
Okay. Glacier, the wrestler. He comes in basically as a Mortal Kombat, like Sub-Zero-esque character.
Like him? They totally yanked it. They stole it.
Yes.
He's literally a carbon copy of Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, although totally white dude with blonde hair.
Yes.
Like, look, Jesus got nothing on this guy. They totally European him.
Yes. And so he has a good run in WCW where like
Does he? He gets more hype than anyone ever got just to fail and be completely uninteresting.
And then, like, when WWE buys WCW and they tried to bring him over, they, like, make promo videos. They have the lights. They have the snow. And he fizzles out, like, quick.
I'm telling you, that dude has more hype video, more promo video time than he does actual wrestling time.
He probably does, but...
And why? He's completely uninteresting.
He seemed cool when I was a kid.
You know, here's the amazing part about Glacier is they tried the whole karate angle with him, and really, they tried really hard, and yet Ernest the Cat Miller is 5 times more entertaining than Glacier.
Ouch.
Doing the same thing, and he's kind of a joke. He kind of does this like Muhammad Ali. He's kind of riffing on that, like, I'm the greatest, but he's hilarious.
Yeah, Glacier didn't have a personality.
No,
he didn't
was like
need
a
one.
block of wood.
He was kicking butt and taking names, Dave.
Yeah. All right, next, John Wayne.
Oh, the Duke.
That's right. I'm laying it down. It's somewhere Kyle Kessinger, I'm sorry. Kyle Kessinger might have just stopped listening to this podcast forever.
Oh, you're not welcome here,
Now,
Pilgrim.
remember, I'm just asking. I have no official opinion here on John Wayne. But does he just hit at the right time? Was this dude really talented? Because he seems to be playing the same dude.
Oh, I mean, he is the same dude. He's the Duke.
Is John Wayne just Kevin Costner but earlier, at a time when he would have been, when he just is more suits the time?
So I think John Wayne knows what he is, which I don't think Kevin knows what he is.
Ooh, good point.
And so John Wayne's like, there's a military movie or a cowboy movie? Sign me up. Pilgrim.
Listen, that was presented neutrally. Kyle, I love you. Don't send me a hate mail.
I'm going with a movie character. He appears in 3 movies. And he might be the most overrated character in the history of sports movies.
A sports movie character. Okay. Is it one of the Mighty Ducks?
It is.
Oh, what? Okay.
Charlie Conway.
Oh, for sure. He's the most annoying member of the team.
So he only scores 3 goals between all 3 movies. And in the second movie, he has to give up his roster spot. And he volunteers to, and no one on the team stops him. Coach Bombay's not like, are you sure about this kid? No, they're like, get off.
No. Let's be totally honest here. If Gordon Bombay wasn't hot for his mom, does he even make the team?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Listen, I just said what we were all thinking. That Charlie Conway is only important because Gordon likes his mom.
Yep.
And that's kind of messed up.
It is. But I think that he's Cap.
All right. The last one was presented neutrally. The one I did. This one is not. Kiss, the band.
Oh.
They suck, right? They're terrible. They're not good.
I think they are a live spectacle. That's how I'll word it.
They claim, their Wikipedia page says they claim to have sold more than 75 million records worldwide.
You know, there are some diehards in the Kiss army.
But why? I can't think of one good song. I Want to Rock and Roll All Night. It's not
Shout
good.
It out loud.
It's not good.
Detroit Rock City.
That song's awful. Objectively terrible.
And it's about a fan that dies on the way to their show.
And
based on a true story.
And look, it's all Kiss's fault that we get Insane Clown Posse later. Because those dudes just copy the template.
Beth.
Beth what?
The song Beth. Beth, I hear you calling, but I can't come home right now because me and the boys are playing all night.
Oh, man. Stop it. Next.
Okay, this is the one that might get us totally canceled.
Oh, I've got one that could get us more canceled. I guarantee it.
Justin Timberlake.
Oh.
Singing. I'll go singing. I won't include acting because I think acting, he knows what he is.
His current album is flopping, bro. I just read that today. It's flopping.
His current album's flopping.
He's unquestionably talented, though.
There are plenty of people on the internet, and you can go down the rabbit holes, that say he's not the talent of NSYNC. That JC Chazé is more the talent, but he doesn't have the looks. And Justin, during this time, may have been doing some career sabotaging of a few of the bandmates. And allegedly, according to Britney Spears' memoir,
oh boy,
not on the up and up as a good character guy, and that might have done some really, really hurtful things. And his biggest hits have a ton of auto-tune.
Britney might be an unreliable narrator, though.
She might be, but I'm posing the question, is he overhyped?
Probably. We've had this conversation about JC Chazé before.
Mm-hmm.
That song he put out, I still say that song that came out on the Drumline soundtrack was better than, I would take that song over any of Timberlake's solo songs.
And Timberlake's big hits, a lot of them feature Timbaland as the producer.
Yeah.
And Timbaland knows how to cut.
Is Cry Me a River a great song because of Timberlake singing, or is it a great song? Is it greatly produced? And does it hit a nerve because of the perceived situation he's singing about?
I go with the latter.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. Boy, we need listeners' help on that one. I'm going to say he's a little overhyped. Jason Momoa.
Okay.
Is he just a hot guy?
He's a hot buff guy.
Yeah. But I don't really remember him in anything. His best role the guy in Game of Thrones who doesn't talk?
Khal Drogo?
He doesn't talk hardly at all.
So I will tell you what my brother-in-law was like, oh, you guys got to watch Game of Thrones when it first comes out. He's like, there's this totally BA dude in it, and that's who I'm going to be. And then, he dies.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah. He doesn't last long.
And so I do think that he's not a terrific actor. I think he has a very limited range. Mm-hmm. I've seen movies that he's tried to carry that weren't big releases, and I'm like, oh, even in this where there's not other big names, you're not stealing the show, and you should be.
Yeah. I would say this. If you are hardcore in disagreement and you think Jason Momoa is a super talented guy and you disagree with what we're saying, go Google a picture of Jason Momoa before he's got the beard and the long hair and the tats. Go find that picture of him all clean cut and then look at that picture and say he's the real deal and keep a straight face. Because I think it's about his looks. I think he hit the right look.
He has the look.
which is fine. That's great. I'm glad for him.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Hamilton.
Oh, it's hype.
So I remember listening because everyone around me was listening to the soundtrack. They're like, "Oh, this soundtrack's so amazing." I'm like, "It's okay."
Yeah, it's fine.
And then like everyone was talking about the Broadway show, and like it's dead silent now. Where like huge hit Broadway shows, even once they start touring around the United States, like Wicked, like even Cats, you still hear people talk about them.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anyone talk about Hamilton probably
except for my daughters. That's all.
Like 4 years.
Here's what I'll say. I don't think Hamilton's bad. I just thought it was overhyped. But I actually think the hype gets misdirected because I think what you mean to say is that Lin-Manuel Miranda's brilliant. Really a brilliant dude. And I think that's where the hype should go. Because I think Hamilton just by itself is good, but I don't think it's the best thing ever. Which is kind of what people talked about it like.
Oh, yeah. It's life-changing theater.
Yeah. I've got one more.
I do, too.
Okay. Why don't you go first? Because mine might be a good place to end it. Because people might stop listening.
Is Napoleon Dynamite good?
Man, I don't know. This one hurts because I've rewatched it recently, and I really love it. I really love the character of it, and I really love like just the overall feel of it. But when I watch it, I kind of see more and more of the warts of it. How they kind of catch lightning in a bottle with the actors. Because those actors both go on to do other things. They get more opportunities, and it never really pans out for them.
Yep.
And I'm going to say it's definitely Napoleon Dynamite was definitely overhyped. I still love it. It still hits a sweet spot for me. But I find it more to do with not the main guys. I love Uncle Rico. I love his brother. Who's the brother's name that's in love with LaFonda?
Kip.
Some of the supporting characters are actually more entertaining for me than the actual main Napoleon, Pedro.
So I'll say I think that it's very quotable. I don't know if the storyline's that great, but I also don't think they're like, oh, you should really be focused on the story. It just is like there are really random quotes in it. And especially when you take it out of the movie and you say in the real world, like people just start laughing. And even like in the movie, I think outside the movie, they're hilarious. In the movie, they're not quite as funny.
There's a lot of comedy from that era that doesn't hold up real well. Napoleon Dynamite doesn't hold up as well for different reasons. Like I saw a piece of Road Trip recently. Do you remember Road Trip?
Yes.
Well, Road Trip was a huge movie when it came out. It's terrible, objectively. It's overly vulgar. It's just not very funny. Like the portion I saw made me want to actively stop watching it. I was just like, this is terrible. I can't believe I had thought this was funny. So it's not in that space. But I definitely think there is comedy that either holds up forever or it was a product of the time. And Napoleon, doggone it, it just might be a product of the time where it hits us.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that it holds up great. And a lot of comedy doesn't hold up at all.
This is true.
All right, this is the last one. And I saved it for last on purpose because we might get stuff thrown at us.
Oh, please don't say it's another Ralph Macchio slam.
Cody, is Nirvana good? Is Nirvana good or is it hype? Are they really the music changing bastion that people claim them to be? Or do they just hit the right time and place and then is it fueled by sentiment because of what happens to Kurt Cobain? Which I want to point out and first and foremost say it's tragic that Kurt Cobain took his own life. It's tragic. He's so talented, but like a lot of brilliant people, they struggle with some mental demons. And clearly he was in that place. I think we know a lot more about mental health now than we did then, which is something interesting we can talk about on another pod. But I think we get into this sentiment when we talk about Nirvana, because I think they were good. I just don't think they were as good as people remember them, or even at the time. I think they just kind of hit at the right time. It was just the birth of alternative music. This is a real music form, but it wasn't all them. I mean, you got Pearl Jam, you got Soundgarden, you got all these bands that are really, really good.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I would have saved this meme because it talked about like which bands of the alt rock were like the heart, the brain, the drive. And I think they listed Nirvana as the drive of alt rock, that like they're the ones that break through. And so I think that if you like their sound, they're good. I don't think as many people that wear the shirts and talk about Nirvana are actually really fans of Nirvana. I think it's more of a nostalgia thing that like, oh, this shirt looks cool and everyone talks about Nirvana. I might as well buy the Nirvana shirt. I don't think there's that many real Nirvana fans. I think they came at the right time. I think some of the lyrics that they have are pretty phenomenal. Kurt Cobain was a terrific writer. But they happened to get paired up with a great producer just that no one had heard of at that point. And Dave Grohl joins the band on their album that breaks through. And clearly he has some musical talent, instruments, and even singing now. We can say, oh, Foo Fighters, they have hits. I don't think they're quite what we build them up to be.
I think sentiment is definitely a part of the equation.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we see that in some other artists around the similar time. Tupac would be a great example. I think Tupac, we romanticize people when they leave ahead of their time, or what we would see as ahead of their time. Jim Morrison,
I was
of the
going
Doors.
to say anyone in the 27 Club.
Yeah.
And this was a person that I thought about bringing up because there's a movie coming out about them. Amy Winehouse.
Oh, yeah. Listen, no question talented.
Yes, but like she
Although-
really had like 1.5 songs.
She
that
doesn't
make it.
enjoy the ongoing reverence that Nirvana does, for sure.
But she also, like, I guess, had that one album and then doesn't really have any music follow-up due to circumstances. So,
well, what do you guys think, listeners? We've rattled off a bunch here, and we ended with, I think those are the tough ones when there's sentiment involved, because I think Nirvana's unquestionably good.
oh yeah,
Great even, but is the hype bigger than what it should be because of the circumstances? What do you guys think? Is there any you agree with that we've mentioned? Any you disagree with?
I'm expecting all the Justin Timberlake.
I'm already bracing
mail.
for the John Wayne stuff and maybe Kevin Costner. So tell us, we want it all. Tell us what you agree with, what you disagree with, maybe stuff we didn't mention. Maybe there's other acts out there, movies, actors, actresses, singers, bands that we didn't mention that you think, man, they were kind of hype.
The Big Cheese.
Yeah. Let us know on our social media posts for this podcast. And as always, make sure you're subscribed, give us reviews, all that stuff. And yeah, invite your friends, share our stuff online as well. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week.